Morning, all, and thank you for joining. I hope you have got your coffee and ready for the coffee side chats this morning. Thank you, first of all, for ILA for setting this up and facilitating and supporting the Global Asset Management Standards Initiative. Thank you very much for Mark, who's put all the groundwork and the slides together today, and all the work stream contributors who will hear from during the course of the session. If I may ask everybody today just to go on mute when you're not speaking. Any questions, please put them in the chat and we'll try address them. So we've got some slides up and we'll work through those. So first of all, what is Global Asset Management Standards and what's it all about? So we created in response to the need we felt there is in the market for a effective way to collaborate, publish, and store template standards guidance. And this is really a non-for-profit association powered by the industry, by you, the individuals. Anyone can go on to this free tool, set up a group and collaborate. And the idea is to address a few key issues that we see in the industry to ensure the longevity of the industry. So costs, friction of duplication of data, the complexity of increasing regulation, the increasing demands on data, the increasing reporting, and inefficiencies where there's lack of standards. Oh, there's a bit of a yeah, and where there's inefficiencies, the lack of data consistency or standards, and multiple groups trying to create their own standards. So the idea is not to compete with any of the industry associations or replace any. This is an enabler for the industry associations, for the asset managers, for the industry bodies, for the various participants, whether it's the INEDs, the directors, the administrators, etc. Going on to the next slide. Who's behind it? So multiple associations. We've now got some fellow directors participating from taking this to Ireland. So it's really aimed to be a global initiative focused on initially the funds industry. And here we've got a list of names who've agreed to have their name linked to a press release we made in November, and supporting the initiative by either contributing resource or leading one of the streams. There's no funding as such. There's no membership fees. It's purely a online platform that, as I say, you can go and join up, log on to today. It's free resource, and create either public or private collaboration. You can even have internal private collaborations within an organization. So that's the initial overview. I think, Enrique, I'll hand over to you to go through who's behind it and running it.
Yeah, I don't know whether it offers comfort or not, but this slide is presenting the board of director of this initiative. Some of them are very well-known names locally, and some other are from outside Luxembourg, and try to represent the span we want to give to the initiative that should not be limited to things or tools that are okay for Luxembourg, that can be used in Luxembourg. If you move to the next slide, we can see a bit more in terms of detailing what we are trying to produce and to achieve. So the purpose, as mentioned by Rebel, would be to have a library available to anybody, that anybody can download, can modify, can think that it should be improved for the general interest of the industry as well. And is a combination basically of documents. There could be templates that somebody may use. We will see an example later on, a very significant example actually with the prospectus template. But we are thinking about templates for other documents, including an initiative that will be detailed later for let's say alternative assets. Could be data definition. Any one of us is trying sometime to understand from a new circular of CSSF or from a new reporting what should go exactly in a particular box, and therefore, who owns this data, where is possible to find it, usually within the organization or within the service provider, for example, of an IFM. Checklist, very simple things, but very very evident, but just to avoid recreating it every time, and maybe not having two companies that have the same and having to invest resources in creating and maintaining them. Best practice guide, and on these in particular, I think ILA will be a main contributor, and Ian will explain us what to do, and other things. So we are discussing, and we are working at a number of different solutions. For who is the target, who are the user for this library? I would say everybody who is in the industry is the way it is conceived is really is open. Therefore, anybody can access the website, find the resource that is of interest to them, download it, interact if necessary with the group that's behind that, having suggestion. And therefore, in this extent, it is useful to ILA members as well, in particular, independent director, because they may be sitting in boards of many companies, and some of them may be struggling addressing issue related to a particular topic, or they may want to benchmark what they are doing against some sort of industry template without recurring to ask a consultant or their friend at another company, and as well for corporate governance officer. If we can move to the next slide. So why we are doing that? As mentioned by Revel, the industry is facing significant regulatory requirements that are becoming, I would say, more and more sophisticated, more demanding, and therefore, we appreciate that it is overall a cost for the industry if you know hundreds of actors are basically every day struggling with. Okay, where do I find the information to put here? What can I develop to have this policy or things like that? It will raise governance level because we're bringing some sort of standardization or at least some sort of benchmarking. There will be a sort of common denominator for people, and maybe this will result in an improvement, generally speaking, of the quality. We hope that we reduce the cost. I mean, it's not an immediate effect, but it's the effect of not having people over busy doing what is essentially is a compilation or administration work. In this respect, we support the industry, and eventually we provide a better service for the investor through the lifting, the gradual lifting and improvement of the standards adopted. If you want to move to the next slide. So, basically the idea that is inspiring us is going from a situation in which every man is an island in the industry, and everyone is fighting with the requirement. And this particularly for a smallish company, it's quite a drain on resources and on cost, because many of them have to recur to various type of external help to define, offer at least something that is currently available, so that people can use them and can also collaborate to introduce enhancement that they deem are proper, or that they reflect maybe peculiarity of their situation that may apply to other actor in the market.
And I think if I just may add, um, yeah, having been involved in many publications of documents over the years, whether it's in the ILA, LFI, fund governance, the code of conduct, or other papers on distributed due diligence, etc. The time it takes to publish in traditional manners, getting a working group together, meeting once a month, circulating a document via email. The whole idea was to create a efficient mechanism to create groups. You can set up a group yourselves, invite people, and centrally collaborate on a document. So the idea is around some of those points, a new regulation comes out, reach out to your peers, decide to work together and collaborate in small groups, and you'll get some examples of those. The other benefit is once this is done, as mentioned, in collaboration with the industry associations like ILA, like LPA, and others. Um, the various industry associations can publish those collaboration papers in their own name. We're not trying to take that away. It's just an enabler for that publication. Some might be published as if it's a purely a global asset management standards initiative. That might be but others might be a ILA document, and Jan will cover some of that later on.
Thanks, Trevor. We can go on to what was actually currently available on the platform. So you'll notice if you go into the platform, you don't need to register at all in order to look at the content or actually to download the content. We don't, if that's all you're intending to do using the platform to look at templates, we don't capture any of your details whatsoever. The only time or information that's captured is when you're part of a working group, and then we will only keep your email as a way to log in, and that will be via LinkedIn, your LinkedIn profile. So I'll quickly go through and say, just to give you an idea of what's currently available. So we've had a working group looking at the UCITS prospectus. We'll come on to that in just a minute. That was Bernard from More Carrot and Christian from Schroders who were leading that working group and produced a great document. We've put up there the CSF SFDR pre-contractual template, which is a huge piece of work that Nathalie Donnier, who's also on the board, has worked on, and also available. We've also talked to existing associations who have had templates. And we've worked with them to put some templates up. So the Findle group had a UBO questionnaire, which they're using as a standard. So we've put that onto the platform, as well as INREV, who have put it as a proof of concept. I think they have a huge number of templates, but they've put up there the DDQ for non-listed real estate vehicles. So that's all freely available to download. Looking at what's working groups we have in progress. So we've just started a legal working group. We'll come on in just a minute. We have an AML working group as well. That is run by Jed Grant from KYC3, and I saw that Elena Planus is also on the call today. She's part of that working group. We'll come on to that one a little bit later. And we also have a due diligence questionnaire that the FinSoft have kindly offered all of their templates, which we're setting up a working group to review and publish on the site. And also we're in the process of setting up a working group which is looking at corporate or company incorporations, and that's also including kind of bank account opening, which is a heavy process. So we have, I think, people on the call today from Macquarie who are helping with that group, as well as Alpha FX, who will also agree to be part of that. We've some other ideas that we're looking at. We'll come on to the tools and resources for governing bodies. Jan will take us through that in a few minutes. Other ideas that we're looking at the private capital KPIs, costs and charges framework, and also looking at a template to gather the cost of regulation. So when the regulator comes out and asks to do kind of data gathering exercise, we would like to be able to go to the industry and get feedback so that we can send that to the regulator to show how much that is costing the industry in terms of kind of time and resource. So then just moving on. So this is just a quick couple of slides where we're looking at some of the templates that I was mentioning. So the INREV DDQ, the CSF SFDR. I think these slides will be available after the coffee chat as well. And the standardized CCAV prospectus. And I think at that point, I think I'll hand over to Christian and Bernard just to give you a walkthrough of how they worked on this particular project.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Indeed. Well, I will briefly talk about what is on the slide, and then I'll speak about what is actually not on the slide, how we got to what is here. So what you see here on the slide is the documents that are available. So if you go to gamsstandards.com, which is the website where all the templates are available, you will find the documents that are here. So we created a prospectus, a usage prospectus, as was mentioned before, which is available in Word. So the Word document is you're able to download, access, copy, take sections, take the whole prospectus. It's free to use for anyone that sees benefit of using it. There's a template available which shows in design what it could look like. More look and feel. It's more intuitive, easier to use. But we've also created a user guide. So for those people that would like to use the prospectus, ensure to look at the user guide. The user guide is a very important resource that allows you to understand how have we structured, what has been the philosophy, who has contributed, and in particular also subfund fact sheet to compartments. So how do you write a compartment? Obviously, as part of the overall template, we didn't define each compartment. I think that is up to each of the users. And we've tried to guide and explain in the user guide how do you come to a harmonized compartment and description of a subfund. So please have a look at the website, gamsstandards.com, and have a look at the templates that are available. Now, how did we get to the templates that are published here? So we worked and we started back in 2024 around spring with a group, all people volunteering to contribute. And the group has evolved over time because obviously, depending on availability of time, depending on people being in functions within their organization, we have seen different people contributing, reviewing to the document. And actually, overall, I believe that has been a great benefit because we've gathered very many different views. So we've had people from an administrator, BBH, I think they were mentioned on one of the first slides, that have been part of the group, really looking at what does an administrator need and take out of a prospectus. Asset managers, lawyers, even tech companies supported, a Big Four company also supported in the process to ensure that we get to a document that is usable and actually meets many needs. Now we started from, and this is where More Carrot supported. More Carrot supported with using their template. Over many years, they've developed a template, and this template has been, in the end, decided to be the basis for our overall GAMS template that is published. But obviously enriched with all the different views that I just mentioned before from the different contributors. We wanted to have an easy to use, easy to read prospectus, but also really look at what are sections that you can reuse in other templates, for instance, in your PRIP document. So this is also what we have indicated into the overall document. What are sections that you can reuse elsewhere? We've color-coded that, and this can be inspiration to be used if you would like to see the prospectus as a governance tool, as a golden source to feed other documents that you need to produce for shareholders. Now, overall, as part of the process, we have done a review, and the review has really been based on the work that More Carrot has done previously. We have gone out to different clients from More Carrot, or actually all the clients from More Carrot, to determine what do they see as benefits of the prospectus and the template. Now, it has not been the GAMS, but it has been the More Carrot work that has been the basis for the survey. And overall, we observed a very positive feedback in terms of less time spent on updating prospectuses, less time for the regulator to review, likely lower fees and charges for the actual update of the prospectus. So overall, there's a lot of benefits of using a standardized template. And we have we can make available as part of the resources, the review and the outcomes of the review that we've done. Now, I would like to hand over to Bernard to talk a little bit more about the prospectus as a governance tool. Bernard, can I leave with you?
Sure. Thank you, Christian. Hi, everyone. Before I just keep on, just can I share my screen, Mark? Do you think I can?
I can stop sharing up.
I guess you can see the cover page of the prospectus, no?
Not yet.
Oh, no, sorry. I need to. Now?
Here we are.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. So just to be concrete, we would like to spend a few minutes to show you exactly how this document or this new GAMS prospectus looks like. Before I will just walk you through one or two sections of the document, or two sections actually of the documents. But just to give you a bit of tell a little bit about the legacy of this template. So we created the template in the first place 12 years ago. We went to the CSSF. We presented that to the CSSF, and they said basically it's fine, and that's how we started to present it to the industry. And before we made it available to GAMS, we had like nearly 20 asset managers using it already for a total of approximately 40 prospectuses, and representing more than 1,000 funds. And we also calculated what does it mean in terms of AUMs, but it means that altogether it represents like more than 1.1 trillion of euro. So that means that probably already, if we just look at these figures, this template has been in use by maybe a third of the total of the UCITS market, which is, I guess, quite an achievement. But we want it to be used by a larger number of players, especially small to medium-sized players. I know it's free, so it's a much lower ticket to adopt this template. So as Raven mentioned, and I think Enrico did too, so we are in a world of a growing complexity. Yeah. So when you look at prospectus 20 years ago, it was a much simpler document. But over the years, there have been new requirements, new regulation that have made it quite a complex document. And with this initiative, we want to reverse the process and make the prospectus again a much simpler document to use for all stakeholders, and especially for the board. But as you know, there are many other type of stakeholders who need to get information out of this document. So I'm going to show you two important sections of document. One is the way we present the fund-specific information, the strategies, the investment policies. And just quickly to say, this is, and if I can zoom in, yeah. Just to give you, so basically, if we present this information in an efficient way, we can really present it on one page. So including all the investment policies, the main risk, planning your investment information that you have to make it available in other documents as well, and some information of the main share classes, all on one page. That's totally achievable. So that's already something that you have everything relating to a particular fund regrouped on one page, which is much easier to retrieve and much easier for having a complete picture of the product. So now if I zoom in a little bit, so you will see everything is modular: objective, benchmark, investment policy, derivative, and techniques. And as Christian mentioned, this is very useful then for sharing this content across other documents or sibling documents, like the kit, for instance, but also SFDR, etc., etc. So it's all modular. It's all written in marketing grade language or plain language, also much easier to understand for everyone, and it's kind of concise. It's legally sufficient. And this template has been reviewed by dozens and dozens of legal people, and has been really vetted by the whole industry. So that's the second section I wanted to quickly show you, is how we, for instance, to give you how we can really simplify the content of a prospectus, is to talk about the 2010 law. So 2010 law, I guess you are familiar with I would say, the traditional presentation of this regulation, which is in general like a 10 to 12 pages of very, very awkward content, very complex content. And so we say, how can we present I would say, the key features of a UCITS in 2 or 3 tables, and on over 2 or 3 pages. And that's what we have done in this section. So the first table is the eligible assets, eligible instruments with how you can use it, and the usage by funds overall. That's one table. It's 2 pages, and it's really doing the job. The second important table of this 2010 law is the diversification requirements. So it's quite complex information, and just by using a visual representation of the rules, we also make it, it's still kind of difficult, but it's much easier for everyone who are not expert in UCITS to understand these diversification requirements. And there is a third table, which is, so no, up. Yeah, management and monitoring of global risk. Also, we have also in a half a page explaining all the techniques and used to monitor the risks. So you see, it's 3 pages, 12 pages, normal way to present the 2010 law, 3 pages, I would say the GAMS way to present this legal framework. So I invite you to look at this document. There are many other very nice features that makes the whole experience of looking at the prospectus very different. And on that point, we know that it's a difficult document, especially for you guys who really need to get a lot of information out of this document. It's not easy. So what we wanted to do is really to make the prospectus a much better governance tool that is more better consulted by everyone inside the building, by service providers, by distributors, by the end clients. And because we believe there is a lot of room for improvement in that respect. The benefits, I think Christian summarized the benefits very well, so I won't repeat that. Maybe another important point is that this is a prospectus that has been created for UCITS, but we have already used it for alternative funds, like LTIF, for instance. So there is really, without a lot of changes needed, you can really adapt this prospectus for non-UCITS vehicles. And we can help with that, and it's one of the potential future developments of our working group going forward. And I guess I'm done with the presentation. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Bernard. I think from personal experience as well, I think one of the major benefits is certainly it being used as a reference tool. It allows different teams and the board to use it more effectively rather than looking at the kind of rather longer and more complex traditional prospectus, and reduces the number of inquiries that I think go through to the legal teams. Just moving along, I guess also there is the ability. So if you have questions on that or any other of the templates, there's a facility within the platform to raise questions and to leave comments, which we would be very happy to have. Yeah. So, oops, jump to slide there. Looking ahead, just coming, we touched on this a little bit before. We have had a whole suite of alternative fund legal documents, legal templates, which have been contributed by Leroy and Goldbach, who have set up a working group then to review those documents with a view to publishing those. So that they include kind of fund term sheets, LPAs, PPMs, subscription agreements, side letters, etc., and a few more as well. So there's a working group which is up and running, starting with the term sheet, and hopefully that will be up on the platform in a month or so. Another working group, as I mentioned, the AML working group. So they're looking at creating and streamlining the whole process. To try and standardize the feed of data that comes from the administrators in order to kind of populate, for example, the AML risk assessment. So I think you can imagine that the amount of efficiency that could drive through the industry. So not only from the administrator who would be able to deliver a standard feed, but also within the mancos, the IFMs, where they can produce risk information on an AML basis, cut by fund or consolidated across a number of funds or consolidated across the whole of their platform. So that work is ongoing. And again, due diligence questionnaires, we have a whole suite of different due diligence questionnaires where we've set up a working group to start to review, as well as company incorporations, cost of compliance, and the ILA initiative by Jan from the Tools for Resources and Governing Bodies. And just a quick note on how it all works. So the working groups we've tried to keep to a relatively small number. So maybe between 8 and 10 people from diverse backgrounds, so they can feed in different viewpoints. So they will come together and create a working group within the platform. So in order to do that, you will need to create a profile, and to create your profile, all you would need to do is log into the system, log into the platform with your LinkedIn profile. And then a working group can be set up, and the people within that working group are free to collaborate on documents. So it's a little bit like Microsoft Teams for free. I think as Revel has coined that before. So people can go in, they can all collaborate on a document real time. They can create chats on particular elements of a template, all in a secure environment where only those team members can access. And once they're happy with the output, then that can be published on the public-facing part of the platform, where it's available for free. For anybody to log in and download. And also, as we've mentioned, in order to have a continual improvement, then there's an element where people who are extracting those documents can leave feedback and suggestions for improvement, and that will feed back into the working group. So I think in terms of efficiency, it reduces the multiple emails that will be flying around working groups traditionally. So it makes that whole process more efficient. It means that if if one person or the chair of the working group moves job, then all that data is not lost in company archives. It's maintained within the system and accessible by other working group members.
Maybe Mark,
Just to
if I
comment
may,
again, so go ahead.
Enrico, did you?
something.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sorry, just to mention, if you can move back to the slide before, what let's say GAMS does. I mean, we spoke before about the, let's say, the initiator. The group of people who's presenting now is not exercising any particular role other than the coordination. Once the group is established by people with a, I would say, common mindset, a common interest at working at something, this working group is left, I would say, to its own in terms of organization. People can meet physically, can meet virtually, can break it down in subgroups, whichever way they care. We just follow, I would say, from a general oversight point of view, and to be a bit of a sounding board if necessary, or to encourage people. Once a consensus is achieved within the group and there is some internal revision, then the document is published. What does it mean? It means that it's not subject to any vetting, let's say, by, I don't know, any type of board, or is not vetted by a legal person, for example, specifically, or from a legal firm. It doesn't have the copyright of firm XYZ instead of ABC. And it is just from the industry, by the industry, for the industry. And therefore, is again, there is no copyright, there is full availability. At the same time, there is no, I'm protected because this was given to me by A and B and C. We are protected because it's done by people who are professional, like I believe all of us are, and we are doing it with the best possible conscience and efforts. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a good point, Enrico. And I think that also it goes down to making sure that when working groups are set up, that you have the right input, so that input from different players within that particular need. Moving on, so the behind the scenes. So this is just the platform is continuing to evolve. The whole platform has been built for free pro bono by James Spaniard from Alex Exchange. So I won't go through some of the developments, but there are a number of different initiatives ongoing to improve and streamline the whole initiative and the platform. So on that point, I'd like to hand over to Jan to go through some of the thoughts that he has on how ILA can contribute into this initiative.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you, GAMS and ILA, for the opportunity to discuss tools and resources for governing bodies. Good morning to you all. I think overall, big picture, what we're aiming to do is we're aiming to develop and share tools and resources which we think will be useful for governing bodies of investment funds and investment fund managers. So if we can move on to the next slide, Mark. I would say as a lot of this initiative came out of the ILA Alternative Investment Funds Committee, where we were looking at what needs to be done to make the investment fund industry more efficient. And one of the things that seemed like an absolutely essential cornerstone of the success, of the continued success of the fund industry, was good governance. So it seemed like the thing that we need to do to ensure the long-term future of the fund industry, and the thing that we can do from the perspective of ILA. So I suppose the idea is that good governance is in the interest of investors, it's in the interest of the stakeholders in the fund value chain, the ecosystem. Poor governance is in the interest of almost nobody. It's not in the interest of the investors, it's not in the interest of the stakeholders, it's not in the interest of the market, and it's not in the interest of the industry. It's really damaging to just about everybody. So we're all losers. So the more that we can do to develop and share good governance practices, the more robust the industry will be, providing these good governance practices, tools and resources are actually being used by members of governing bodies, investment funds, investment fund managers. So what we're trying to do is, you might say, we're trying to democratize good governance. You might say that, for many years, good governance has been in the hands of a number of wise people who are in governing bodies of investment funds and investment fund managers. And the more that we can do to make that more freely accessible, the better fund and investment fund manager governance will be overall. The other thing is that providing tools and resources to governing bodies and making them freely available empowers members of governing bodies, such as directors. So instead of having to go along to your client and say, I recommend this, it's often so much easier to go along and say, well, the ILA guidance recommends this, or the GAMS standard recommends this. And furthermore, it enables members of governing bodies to benchmark, as Enrico said earlier, benchmark your practices against a standard. And even if that standard is not perfect, it's often a very big step up from where you may be, especially, I would say, for the smaller and medium-sized investment funds and investment fund managers. So if we can move on to the next slide, Mark. Thank you. So we aim to start with developing, should we say, governance tools and resources for investment fund managers, investment funds, and special purpose vehicles. Obviously, we're starting from the Luxembourg perspective, but we believe that these standards can be useful across the globe, and obviously starting in the well-known investment fund centers. So if we could move on to the next one. Thank you, Mark. So the other thing I wanted to say is that when we're talking about democratizing good governance practices, I think it's, our first target audience is, of course, the directors, the conducting officers of investment funds and investment fund managers. But I think it's also very helpful for the wider community to have access to what does good governance look like. And so within the fund ecosystem, within an investment fund manager, making that available to the teams within the investment fund manager, for example, the compliance team, the risk management team, the corporate governance officers, the internal auditors. Knowing what good governance looks like can be very helpful for them in their daily roles. And then, of course, to service providers. So the service providers in the fund ecosystem, but also the lawyers and consultants who are supporting investment funds and investment fund managers. So I think the more that we can democratize it, the stronger the industry will be, and the better that we will mitigate the risk to the industry. So we have a look at if we go on to the next slide, Mark, and have a look at the sort of resources and tools that we're talking about. So these are the sort of resources and tools that I think governing bodies can find extremely useful. So the first one, a skills matrix. Have we looked at what sort of skills we would expect to see in the board, and then potentially that enables you to look at the composition of the board, but of course, what sort of skills you need to bring into the board, either with new members or with expertise. When you're launching a fund, you're in the setup phase, very challenging part of the fund life cycle for particularly members of governing bodies. What do you expect to see when you're launching a fund? What sort of documentation would you expect to see in place? What sort of documentation would you expect to see for the fund itself? What sort of documentation would you expect to see at the investment fund manager? Then looking at the ongoing life cycle of the fund or the investment fund manager, but starting with the fund, what sort of things would you expect to see on the agenda of the fund board or the general partner board? What about the special purpose vehicle, so the entity that is holding the underlying investments? We'd also like to talk about the agenda of the investment fund manager board, although there's already some very welcome guidance which has been published by ALCO in this respect. What about the definition of who is responsible for what between the board of the fund and the general partner and the investment fund manager? I think if we have some guidance out there on that, that will be very helpful for the industry to define their own practices, even if it differs from what we are suggesting. A board evaluation questionnaire, simplifying, facilitating, putting board evaluations in place, terms of reference for the fund board, the investment fund manager board. And then on a specific topic, which I think is challenging for governing bodies to oversee, when you receive something like a conflict of interest framework, a conflict of interest register, does that look right? What sort of things would you expect to see in there? So how can you go about challenging the conflict of interest framework that is proposed to you, making sure that there's an adequate one in place? So that's really what I wanted to say about the sort of tools that we are looking to, should we say, develop through ILA and in collaboration with ILA, and then make available on the GAMS platform.
Thank you, Jan. That's I think it's a very needed piece of work, and I think it'd be useful across a number of different actors, I think. Revel, did you want to wrap up before we go to Q&A?
Yes, certainly. So I suppose, first of all, thank you for that, Jan, for the overview from an ILA standpoint. For some reason, I'm struggling with my camera. Go on, but so what we need from you, first of all, as Christian and others have mentioned, if you could go and visit the site, any feedback on material and information, you don't have to, as Mark mentioned, sign on. It's purely available. It's free. What the tech world have been doing, Silicon Valley and the tech world for years. They see collaboration and open sourcing as a way to innovate and move the industry forward. And it's something that the finance industry hasn't been great at in terms of collaboration. So please go and log on and look. And if there are initiatives, whether it's a new regulation, whether there's I don't know, a data feed you get that you struggle with, whether there's a guidance you need, feel free to go and start a working group, log on, create an account, and invite others. That can be public or private. So if you want to have a closed working group, it's also possible. Then spread the word, collaborate, publicize, and store standards. If there's standards that you've seen that a body like INREV have very kindly shared, feel free to pass those on, and with their permission, we'll ensure centralized storage. And then let's look at challenges that you are involved in, the boards that might be interested in, raise ideas for more standards, and join or start working groups. And with that, really, thank you again to ILA, Mark, Jan, and all the presenters, Christian and Bertrand, Enrico, and all those that are actively contributing in the background. Shall we hand over to Q&A?
Eloise, can we go to Q&A if there are any?
There are currently no questions in the chat.
Okay.
If anyone has any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'm not sure if you see them, Mark, but there's one from...
I can't see them here.
Okay, Maurice Pereira, Annex 4. That's just the question.
So this is I guess this is a suggestion for a working group? Absolutely. I think that's something that that would fit very well within the platform. I think what we would need to get going is there's a few interested people and to come together and form a working group to to look at that topic. But it was something that I think would fit very well.
Okay, thank you. Another question. Are you planning to work on some templates in AML, CTF, CPF field? I saw one document is in process. Thank you.
Yeah, if you want, I can take that. Actually, what is in process is, and that is, I think is quite advanced, we hope to see it published very soon, is a sort of mapping of the information that are required to come to a risk assessment of the fund. So basically, it's if you want, is a list of everything you need and who is the most likely provider for this information within your organization. Of course, every organization is different. So if you're looking, for example, to I don't know, distribution markets, it could be whatever your marketing function. It could be a client service organization within your organization. It could be your transfer agent if you have, you know, a very deep relationship with them and they understand what needs to be done, or if you simply, for example, you don't perform distribution efforts and it is the transfer agent who really handle all the new client. And similarly, it goes from you know whatever the where do you get the information about you know the presence, for example, of politically exposed person or not, the number of whatever anomalous transaction that you may have experienced in a given year and so on. So this one that is quite advanced is something that proposed basically to give you is a combination, if you want, between a checklist, so which information you need to have, and how to find it, making if you want suggestion making based on industry practice on where this information typically resides. Once this group, I mean, this is an active group. I don't know when this group will conclude its work, whether they have the intention to take something else. But likewise, if there are people who want to you know to create a group, of course, is a topic of very big interest. It's very wide. There are many facets to look at that. That is more than welcome.
Can I just say that I think this is
yeah,
an
carry on.
excellent point from Mariana. The sort of thing I think that could be extremely useful to the fund industry, because we are all reinventing the wheel. And one of the very good examples is AML, is like having indications about what should be in an AML policy, something like what we've already been seeing for the fund prospectus, what should be in an AML risk assessment, what should be in typical KYC per type of client, what should a country risk assessment, what could a country risk assessment or jurisdiction risk assessment look like, what should an asset risk assessment look like. I think there are a whole series of tools, and it would be extremely helpful to have practical industry guidance, because we are all at the moment reinventing the wheel, and always less well, and it's always creating risk.
Yeah.
And I think
that there is a
sorry, just one point. And in addition to that, Jan, fragmentation, because then if each party is doing it differently, demanding of the distributors or the admins or the investors in a different way, it creates market fragmentation and market frustration, and again duplication of effort, because that end provider might have to provide multiple different ways. So again, that's a great example of where there's market inefficiency and standards and uniformity could help. Yeah. And just one other point, just to reiterate Mark's point, we are not creating the working groups. We're making the platform, the technology collaborative platform, available to anyone who would like to raise initiative. The other two One is valuation. There's a talk about collaborating with across multiple industry associations, ILA support of LPA, LPA, etc., to support with this work around valuation. For example, having each association might have a different view. LPA might have the administrator's view, ILA the board and governance and conduct officer's view, LPA, their view. However, using the platform to ensure that we don't get disparate, disjointed views. The governance view is different to what the administrator's view is.
There is if we still have time, there is another question from a participant about whether there is any sort of, let's say, regular checkup or control that ensuring that whatever evolution in regulation is incorporated in whatever document is provided in the GAMS platform. I would say there is not as such as an institutionalized control, so there is not a board of GAMS supervising, let's say, the freshness, how much up to date the documents are. The hope and the effort is that since it is an association to which people volunteer and contribute, bringing their knowledge to be shared with the industry, these groups will continue to operate in the form also Christian described it before. So people may drop out, other people may get in, organization can continue to cooperate to make sure that things remain current and they are updated. But as we said, it's a collaborative effort. It's not something for which anyone receives a fee. It's not produced by an advisory firm or a law firm. And therefore, it is as good as any one of us is willing to cooperate and provide input in this respect.
Yeah, maybe Enrico.
So it will never be the Bible. It will always be a good guidance.
Well, if I could add on that, just in terms of keeping things up to date with evolving market and regulatory changes, one of the developments we're looking at within the platform is to have a recertification of anything that's published by the working groups, so that on a frequent basis, so then they can then make an assessment if any changes need to be made to cover regulatory change, for example. But that's kind of work in progress at the moment. Okay, I think we're just about there. If there are no more questions in the chat.
There is just one more, if we can answer it really quickly. Technology-wise, will your templates articulate to market ERPs, add-ins?
Maybe we need to have our technical guy James Spaniard answer that one. Maybe we could get back to that. But I think if I recall, the technical standards will facilitate, for example, the exchange of information that between with the regulator, with the CSSF.
Yeah, James is trying to build it so that there's and we engage regularly with the regulator. I suppose that's important with the PSF. So the PSF we update, and as those who attended the conducting officer forum, Marco indicated that they don't participate in, but they can observe, and they do support it from the perspective of enhancing the industry. And secondly, there's smart APIs, and James is building in. So he's trying to pre-build, wherever there's templates, APIs that can be used from a technical standpoint, and all the kind of coding behind APIs is not my speciality, and then also AI to interpret and mine the guidance and questionnaire and templates. Well, thank you very much. We'd be really be delighted if you engage, reach out, but first of all, go and just explore and look at the platform. And thank you for ILA for hosting, Mark for all the work you put in, and all the contributors today. Much appreciated.
Lovely. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.